questions. But already we are even trying to see how these two ministries should see themselves as brothers or sisters. We are even working on an MOU. I'm very fussy about it to ease our jobs here, because we don't have all the wherewithal to actually function. So we are still sisters. If they are here to ask questions, please, you are at liberty to join us. So I want to welcome all of us, and of course, members of staff from my own side. You are all welcome, and of course, the agencies that we oversee, including SALPOS, NACI, etc. You are all very welcome. So on that note, Honorable Minister, and maybe you may have a word or two to say, or let the players start the game.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, and Deputy Minister, and senior colleagues of the Ministry of the new Ministry. I think I'm happy to be here this afternoon to be presenting to the ministers a report that was commissioned in September for the conduct of a management and functional review in respect of this new ministry. Ladies and gentlemen present here, this task took us 6 weeks to complete. It is not easy to do a work like this in 6 weeks. Before I proceed with presenting the findings of the report, I may want to use this opportunity to commend my team for a very hard work that we put together. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's just clap for them. More specifically, I want to thank the team lead that took on this task. I believe this was his first very senior assignment that he took. That's A.S. Lahai and Wusha. They were on top of this. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Minister, since this is the tail end of the evening, I may want to run through the findings of this report and to present to you a detailed document of what we've been able to do as public sector reform unit. These are my team. I may not go into introducing them by names, but these are the team from PSRE. And for me presenting, I am Sulaiman Furi Musa. I'm the head of programs for the public sector reform unit. I'll start with an introduction. Basically, the public sector reform unit provides leadership, coordination, and strategic guidance in the design, implementation, and monitoring of public sector reform initiatives across all the sectors. As you know, the civil service is a subset of the public service. So we look at the public service holistic. And consistent with cluster 4 of the New Direction Manifesto, that has a very ambiguous pillar there, which says revamping the public sector architecture. I believe in terms of professionalism, accountability, we believe PSRE is well positioned to ensure that institutions are well capable to drive the mandate of His Excellency the President. So we come in with what we call structural alignment to set the base for delivery. And I think that's what we have done for this new ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, the objective of this exercise was very specific and deliberate. We were to look at the mandate, responsibilities, and functions of both ministries that were demerging. We have the ministry as one, but they were demerging. We needed to examine the organizational structure and human resource issues of both ministries. Being that they are new ministries, we believe human resource was one critical component if they are to succeed. We looked at the access to both ministries, technical and administrative procedures, processes, and the facilities they have for service delivery. We were able to identify gaps, challenges within the management and operational functions of these ministries. Finally, we were able to provide recommendations and suggestions to ensure that both ministries deliver effectively on their mandates as prescribed by His Excellency the President. The methodology that we used was qualitative throughout this process. The team employed structured, semi-structured interviews and focus group discussions. I believe the leadership of both ministries were engaged fully, and also stakeholders of these ministries were also engaged fully to know the extent of the ministries and what they do. We developed questionnaires and we administered them across all the cadres of these ministries. Ladies and gentlemen, the thematic focus of this report were findings and recommendations. We looked at the internal overlaps in functions and responsibilities. We looked at the strategic alignment of the mandates and structures. We looked at the coordination capabilities and communications of these ministries with their key stakeholders. We looked at the recruitment and selection of staff of both ministries. We looked also at the administrative management. And finally, we were able to propose an organizational structure that befits these ministries in moving forward. Honorable Minister, Education and Democracy, Sierra Leone Broadcasting Services, or Corporation, the Government Printing Department. And Mr. Minister, we've been able to have some key findings and recommendations towards all of these agencies as highlighted here. I'm going to read, Honorable Minister, for the attention of people that are here. The review for the IMC, the review revealed that the IMC Act of 2006 is not clear about IMC's role in regulating the social media space, bloggers, who are very crucial to the information and civic education landscape. If you want to have details of this report, please, you can go in depth into the report to read. These are just the findings. The team recommends that the MOICE, in collaboration with IMC and other critical stakeholders, including duty bearers and media freedom advocates, review the IMC Act of 2006 to agree on a well-defined public interest content that can inform policy making and formulating regulations in the use of social media platforms. Sierra Leone Postal Services. Honorable Minister, the review noted that the laudable effort in the transformation of SARPOST to compete internationally. However, there remains critical challenges in delivering on its key mandate. We believe in the most technical and professional terms that the ministry should collaborate with the National Commission for Privatization in revamping the postal services to meet international standards and to incorporate strategies and systems that project its relevance within the public sector space. Sierra Leone News Agency. The review team has noted with caution the disepitating rate at which SLENA is constrained to meet the competing demands of the new media, and the lack of adequate technical capacity within SLENA has worsened its position to effectively deliver on its mandate. We therefore recommend that the ministry strengthen the capacity of SLENA with adequate technical and professional staff to improve productivity and service delivery. National Council for Civic Education and Democracy. The team also noted that the mandate of the National Council for Civic Education and Democracy, as articulated in the Act of 2022, seriously overlaps with the ministry's mandate on civic education. It further noted that the National Commission for Democracy and NACE are identified to be parent structures whose mandate and functions conflict, thus creating a huge burden on the wage bill and disharmony in the implementation of government's programs and activities relating to democracy. In view of this, the review recommends that the NACE Act of 2022 be repealed and its structures and functions be subsumed into the Ministry of Information and Civic Education under the proposed Directorate of Civic Education and Citizens Engagement to avoid wastage and duplication of functions within the sector. The review further recommends the adoption of a strategic mandate proposed for the Ministry of Information and Civic Education with specific functions outlined to guide the day-to-day operations. Sierra Leone Broadcasting Service. Despite several reform measures by the government of Sierra Leone to rebrand and reposition SLBC to effectively compete internationally with similar broadcasting services across sub-region and beyond, the review team noted that the productivity and services provided continue to decline gradually. The review team is of the most strong professional opinion that MOICE should facilitate a complete overhauling of SLBC. The outfit itself in terms of technical expertise, equipment, logistics to enhance its full functionalities. Government printing press. Honorable Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, the review team noted that due to the lack of capacity and the necessary logistics constraints of the government printing department, critical functions of these departments were being subsumed to a third party. And therefore, the secrecy of the government is at stake. When we give our critical document to a third party, it means our documents are not secured. In view of the above, the review team therefore recommends a total rebranding of the department to be able to carry out its functions. Situational analysis. Mr. Minister, we are able to analyze this ministry in itself into 4 broad areas. One has to do with operational roles, strategic policy guidance, policy formulation and coordination and implementation support. These are the analyses, Honorable Minister. The team, however, noted that the current press conferences organized under the operational roles, the present press conferences organized by the ministry are laudable initiatives, but they lack the wider media coverage to disseminate government information in hard-to-reach areas. The review team is of the professional view that the Ministry of Information and Civic Education has a critical role to play in the successful implementation of the Big 5 game changers in the New Direction Manifesto. Therefore, the ministry's role in providing strategic policy guidance on information, citizen engagement has to be strengthened to enhance service delivery across MDAs. The review team recommends that the Directorate of Government Information Services should be mandated to provide technical backstopping to MDAs, embassies, and high commissions in the development and implementation of information and citizens engagement strategies right across the sectors. Strategic policy guidance. The review team noted that the Ministry of Information and Civic Education strategic role is to provide leadership in the formulation, implementation of policies related to collation and dissemination of credible information and educating the citizens on all issues of national interest. The review team is of the view that the Ministry of Information and Civic Education has a critical role to play in the successful implementation of the Big 5 game changer. Therefore, the ministry's role in providing strategic guidance, information, and citizens engagement has to be strengthened also in this area. Policy formulation and coordination. Critical among the functions of the ministry has to do with bringing together critical players along this sector. Therefore, we have proposed in this report, the structures that should be used to engage partners and donors and to be able to coordinate the wider sector in which you operate. Coordination and implementation. Implementation support, strategic oversight are both operational and strategic roles of the ministry. The review team is of the view that the ministry should involve in facilitating prompt, effective, efficient dissemination, credible information, adequately engaging and educating the citizens about government policies and programs to strengthen public confidence and trust. Mr. Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is the crux of our findings and recommendations. The report we'll be presenting is detailed. It will give you everything the study covered. Internal and external overlap in functions and responsibility. Depth reviews, stakeholders engagement, and interviews conducted it was observed that the current mandate of the ministry and its constituent agencies are not clearly defined. The absence of a clearly and well-defined functions has resulted in function and structural overlaps, which undermines productivity and service delivery. Given the sensitivity, this is the recommendation, given the sensitivity of the ministry's mandate in providing strategic leadership in the implementation of policies across all MDAs, local councils, the team strongly recommends that the proposed mandate and functions of the ministry as stated in the report be implemented. The team further recommends that NASIC mandate, functions, human resource be subsumed into the ministry. This merger will strengthen the ministry's capacity to successfully deliver on its mandate and further cut down on the government's wage bill. We have a huge wage bill now. We are looking at ways we can cut them. So if we have structures that are parallel in nature, we have to cut them down. Strategic alignment of mandates and structures. The Ministry of Information and Civic Education is mandated to provide policy guidance oversight over the information and civic sector. In this regard, the review team noted the absence of a national policy on information and civic education. And the ministry is seriously challenged to create a platform for proper coordination, management and control of national information and civic education systems. The review further recommends the adoption of a strategic mandate proposed for the Ministry and Civic Education, specific functions outlined to guide the day-to-day operations. Recruitment, selection, and press attaches are core staff of the ministry. The ministry is grappling with critical human resource, technical competencies, skills, and adequate technology to drive the implementation of its mandate. The review team further identified the inappropriate manner. This is very serious. An inappropriate manner in which press attaches have been appointed and approved to serve in various embassies and high commissions. They are just, you bring them from everywhere, nobody to regulate them, nobody to, guide them. They don't report to anybody. Just, The review team is of the professional view that the press attaches must be seen to be neutral in the representation and performance of responsibilities. Thus, press attaches must be information officers for the news. Weak coordination, communication, with key stakeholders and citizens. The review team notes the absence of the Ministry of Information and Civic Education at both the district and regional levels, thus hampering the flow of information to citizens promptly. This may result in huge gaps in cascading information about development and issues of national interest from the central government to the rural communities. The review team also observed a communication gap between the central government and the local councils, as citizens' engagement is critical to the effective functioning of the government. In this view, the review team recommends that the ministry develops and implement a national information and civic education strategy in collaboration with local council structures. To ensure dissemination of information, critical government interventions and programs to rural communities. They need to know they are part of governance. They should be informed. The review team further recommends that the ministry utilize the services to avoid duplication and to create new structures. We are recommending that you utilize the services of IEC officers in the councils. They are already there. They are paid from government offers. I believe we just need to train them and to beat them up to be able to cascade the information of the ministry. So we recommended that you use them because they have structures down there. Administrative management of MOICE. The review team noted the following. The ministry is understaffed with a limited number of professionals in both administrative and professional ways. High staff attrition rates in the ministry as a result of poor conditions of service. Low level of staff morale, poor performance of staff as a result of poor conditions of service and inadequate logistics and equipment to undertake routine operations. Personnel expressed in our focus group discussion, Mr. Minister, this is very critical, yes, they expressed frustration regarding the lack of opportunities for capacity development and promotion. Inadequate office space for them to work and to function. We are recommending the following. adoption of a succession plan to ensure that staff that are due to retire are successfully replaced. Also filling of critical vacancies to optimize productivity within the ministry. Regular in-house and external training of management and managing people or refresher trainings is very essential. The review team also recommend that the ministry puts a mechanism in place for regular upward mobility as an incentive for outstanding performance, not forgetting improved reward mechanisms and creating opportunities for career development to enhance staff morale. Organizational structure. The review team noted that the current configuration of the structure, system, and processes of MOICE is not well aligned with the current mandates of the ministry. The review team therefore recommends the adoption of the proposed organic structure of the ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, we have proposed something that we think can stand the test of time and to help the ministers to deliver the mandate of His Excellency the President. This is what we have proposed from a professional, technical point of view in consultation with Human Resource Management Office. There is a minister, a deputy minister, a permanent secretary, and a chief information and civic education officer as a technical. We believe this, wherever we have 4 directorates, this is a new pattern that is taking place across all ministries, departments, and agencies. Where we have more than 4 or 4 directorates, we need to have someone that should regulate all of those. There is need to have a chief director, but he must be technical. We have described the kind of person that should be a technical director, the skills and competencies of this person. So, Minister, we have 4 directorates: Directorate of Education and Civic Engagement, Directorate of Information, Directorate of Planning and Research, which is very important, and Directorate of Records and Archives. We believe archives must be seated in this ministry. This is the organizational structure for this new ministry. So the next steps, someone may ask, this report, after submission, will be submitted for approval at the Steering Committee on Public Sector Reforms. The report will be submitted after approval to Cabinet for implementation. I think there's a subcommittee in Cabinet that looks at the recommendations and then try to implement them. We'll develop an implementation plan. We'll provide a backstopping support during this process. We monitor and evaluate the process. Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you very much for listening. I may want to pause to take questions. Thank you.
Was asking if you are going to do a formal panel of report. So do you want to do it now before we comment? Yeah.
Whatever you do. Mr. Minister, on behalf of the Public Sector Reform Unit, let me use this opportunity to present to you findings and recommendations of a management and functional review that was conducted for this ministry.
Thank you very much. You did pause for questions, and I want to make sure that our colleagues who are here who may have questions will have the opportunity to ask them. because I am also curious to hear the responses and to see what you will say. But first, since we have presented, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the ministry to profoundly thank you and your remarkable team for the quality and depth of your thinking, your analysis, your conclusions, and your recommendations. You are a first-rate team. It's not often I get to say that about any parts of the government of Sierra Leone. But I want to say that in our interaction with you, in your presentation just now, the quality of the report that is in my mind, we can agree and disagree and talk about what the thinking is, but nobody can doubt that there is thinking, and that it is quality thinking, and it's deliberate, it's intentional. Oftentimes we lament the challenges of the government of Sierra Leone, the lack of capacity across the government of Sierra Leone, and why we tend to seek often outside expertise. But I think in your team, we have shown, and I want the people of this country to hear this, that you can have a team of dedicated professionals who know their stuff, who are given a task, who do their research, who consult across, and who can come up with professional views and professional recommendations. As a Sierra Leonean, as His Excellency's Minister for Information and Civic Education, I think this is a fantastic story. I'm proud to be associated with you. I'm proud at the speed with which you have done this. One of the things I wanted to do as a minister quickly was to do these kinds of reviews, not just obviously you've looked at the structures and institutions, you've also, but I also wanted to do something along the lines of our information systems and information flows, which you frankly made our work easy. You've alluded to all of these issues, you've laid the foundation, and we'll have these conversations with all our MDAs and to go into in-depth of the issues that you have raised there. And I look forward to continue to work with you and building a partnership and a relationship that results in a truly functional, efficient, and effective Ministry of Information and Civic Education. That's the goal here, to deliver for the people of this country. And today I think you have done Sierra Leone great justice and great pride in the quality of this work that you've done. So thank you. So questions. Let me be the MC now and ask if any of my colleagues here have thinking about any burning issues, specific questions. You've already outlined as well what the processes will be. In my mind, I'm thinking about timeline for those processes. Have time to waste. His Excellency tells us every day in cabinet. He's entrusted us to make difficult decisions, but to do them fast, swiftly, and to rush through with the transformation that he seeks. 5 years may be long, but they're not so long when you think about the other extenuating circumstances that we must contend with. So, timeline is very important. You know, I put a lot of pressure on you guys to move fast. So we're young, huh? It's a young ministry. Any questions? Any comments from our colleagues? I think we have some of IMDs who are here. PS and your team right here. Deputy Minister, you're here as well. Do you have a comment or a question?
No, I think the question, probably the comments. I just want to align myself to what the minister said. I think I was just thinking the minister that a piece of work like this, you have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars to have consultants to come and do it for us. I'll be proud, and frankly proud. I mean, when you're doing the presentation, the depth of which, like the minister said, the thinking processes, that you have a set of Sierra Leoneans who can take 6 weeks to give us this quality work. I think we should all be proud of ourselves. And I think, like Mr. said, we've made our work easier because now this will be the foundation upon which we are going to do many, many things. And the reports, like Mr. said, we'll look at the reports, discuss it with the invite stakeholders, and obviously we want to now translate from the report to the action. So I think we want to make curious about timing, and we hope that whatever timelines we have, we should be able to make sure that they are things that are workable and implemented in the shortest possible time. Because there's nothing worse than having a report and put on the shelf.
Yeah.
I think we have to probably give life to it.
Yeah.
Just paper formalities now at the moment. So I think just a comment and just thank you. Each and every one of you, thank you. And I know how hard you worked. And if people have not been saying this to you guys, I think in your team, frankly in your team, I think we have few of the best people that we have in the public sector. And we want to really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. To say, frankly, on my side, I'm surprised, but I'm not very surprised. Because it's not the first time the country has got the encounters with the public sector, the MFR, like in the foreign ministry. And one thing I know, I always develop my vision that these kinds of commendations will come to me. Minister, there are times we quarrel over some issues, but these guys are able to make sure they are always in the position to convince me that this is right, mine was wrong. And whenever I propose things that we are right, they will tell me we are right, we are going to include them. And it's the kind of justifications that we are providing in some areas. Sometimes I will tell them this is not workable. And one thing I discovered that to my ministers, I was like schooled. It's not like the classroom system. We teach these theories in the class. But frankly, when you come to the practice itself, you see that the line is not very thin, it's a bit thick, that you have to learn more. I really want to commend you again and to say that you've made us proud. And we just want you to continue to guide us in the implementation phase. Don't leave everything with us. Let us see how we can push things. As the minister has said already, as a young ministry, we are in haste, and there is so much to be achieved. And as usual, we'll continue with the interactions. My office and your office, as we have been interacting. And don't worry, there are things we cannot discuss here. Williams is smiling, don't worry. The mandate has come, something will happen. No, that's you. The other thing is that the courage, please. You have to understand me. When I'm desperate to see things right, my texture will change completely. So there are times you guys saw the unfriendly aspect of the permanent sector. But that's really the true me. When things are going nice, definitely I smile. If I'm not convinced, I quarrel with them. And I want to thank you for schooling me. Was that during the workshop, Fully Musa and team, they should have provided a room for me to repair. So that all of us they didn't do that. So that's the biggest offense. That is Fashitoka. Once more, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. I know time is fast spent. I'm just going to ask if anybody else has any specific question. Yes.
Yeah, it's just maybe a concern. It
Okay.
might not be part of information, but I'm part of communications.
Go ahead.
It's a concern. It's a concern to the organogram. If we can go back,
This is
yeah, for the Directorate of Records and Archives. It's just a curiosity because I believe HRM will have a whole lot of maybe records officers which they can send to ministries. I don't know, but I just want to be clear about that. If you have to have a records directorate.
my question, because what I would like, so you can see this is how I conduct the press conferences as well, is we take all the questions and then we give you because oftentimes they're connected. My question is related to the National Commission for Democracy. Now, in the documents that were communicated to us right after the deamalgamation, National Commission for Democracy was assigned to this ministry. In your review, you have concluded that that is a mistake, that they shouldn't be here. Considering their function, and their, by the way, not just their function, but also the core of their historical activities, truly they have been a civic education enterprise. If you go back to the 90s, NCD was really a civic education institution. You talk about the history of all the leaders that you've had there, the National Pledge, talking about peace building and democracy. They have been the fountain actually for civic education. And yes, there are questions about application that happen with NASA each year now sorts to address. I'm curious as to why and how you reached the conclusion that they should be assigned to the Ministry of, if I remember correctly, Political Affairs. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
For the questions that are coming in. Mr. Minister, I'm going to the last question, which is very much important. We have seen NCD has been grappling a lot. Functions have been taken away. They are on the survival. We believe in this report we've done justice. Once we subsume NASE, the democracy aspect that was taken off is going back to NASE. NCD. We believe NCD is dealing with governance issues, and where it is best fit is the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs. In fact, that is where it's seated right now. Because of the governance nature, because of the court-crossing issues with the chiefs, local authorities, traditional people, it has its own functions. If you read through their mandates itself, you will see the cross-cutting. So we studied it carefully, and we believe the best place for NCD to thrive is the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs. Mind you, the political administration aspect has taken the space now, because the ministry is looking at the public administration itself. If we take the functions of governance, particularly political affairs with NASI and with democracy from them, it will kill the other aspect of political affairs. So NASI and NCD is going to support the ministry in that regard to be able to reach out to its constituents. So that was the thought behind NCD taking its functions again, and they're being capacitated to function very well. You asked a question about archives. Yeah, HRMO is just a subset of even the public service we are talking about. HRMO is only dealing with about 18,000 to 22,000. And we are talking about a whole national archive system that should be seated somewhere, managed by a well-resourced institution that could drive generations to come. So I believe the national record is...
All right, I think on that note, except if there are any other burning issues, but maybe we should pull the curtain down now on today's event. I think the day is...
Sorry,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Minister, final
Yes.
one. You mentioned timelines. So yes, and that's very critical. Due to the influx of MFRs that we are doing, because we are yet to constitute, Cabinet has given powers for the reconstitution of the steering committee on public sector reforms. But because there are pending issues with HR matters, you have to fill critical positions. So it's going to the regrading committee. So I will get the PS informed once we have a date to convey the regrading committee meeting. I'll let you know the PS will be representing the ministry and it will be laid there for approval. Then implementation will start.
The other question, sorry, I know I need to go, but if there are comments that are of substance, let's say for example on the structure, and I have a point of view that may be different from yours, or I suggest that there should be a unit, for example, in this organogram that currently is not there, what are the provisions for us to be using?
So at the last part of this presentation, was PSRU provide technical backstopping to support during implementation and recommendation. So we also undertake monitoring and evaluations of the implementation. The cabinet conclusion that was sent across to all ministries did mention that we need to set up committees in the ministries that can help to implement this. It's there, the cabinet conclusion is there. So in our belief, if you have minor changes that cannot change the whole structure,
Doesn't significantly
affect this,
they can be
they can be incorporated.
Because there is also 2 weeks ago cabinet conclusion, for example, on the committees.
Yes.
This ministry was one of the ministries that are the lead. I think I spoke to you about what the derivatives, and that's not reflected here now. But I can see where it fits without affecting the structure.
I can come in.
Correct.
So we have been very careful. Delivery teams are reporting directly to the ministers. So once the ministers are disembarking, they are dissolved for various reasons. But these are structures. But for example, Mr. Minister, the chief technical director can be a highly technical person from your side that should come in to provide technical backstopping to the ministry and then transfer knowledge. Those positions are there for people to be able to transfer knowledge to the lower cadre. Yes, sir.
Just a question, yes. Once we set the committee within the ministry, we are going to have a framework in which they are going to be interviewing with the guys, right?
Sure.
All right, well, thank you. I realized we don't talk about English here today. In English, he asked me that. So, a big, I support our follow talk you as well as alone, so that we will be comfortable. But I thank you again, and I'll continue the conversation. Have a good evening.
Thank you.